Hey guys, the Huntsman here. So today I'm going to teach you how to adjust the trigger on a Ruger American. I actually already have this apart, but I'll teach you. Field stripping is very easy. It's just clearing the weapon, removing your bolt, and taking out the two screws that sit in your mag well, or right next to your mag well. So I'm going to show you guys real quick. So this firearm obviously is clear. Um, Once you have it, I actually put the bolt back in to test the trigger. Um, Once you have it disassembled, um, you're gonna look down. So here's your trigger. I actually took the blade out of mine. I just didn't like the feeling of it, so I'm gonna see how it feels without it in. But if you look right here, you're gonna see an Allen screw. And on the back side of this Allen screw is your trigger spring. So if you're removing this trigger housing, the spring sits in here. It is a pain to get in and out and get everything lined back up. So I didn't actually remove the trigger spring. I did remove the trigger. You just pop this E-clip off and just be careful because it will go flying on you. And pop this pin out and your trigger falls out. And then when you're ready to put it back in, rather you're replacing the trigger spring, removing the blade. If you just want to adjust your trigger poundage, these go from like 3 1/4 up to I think 4 4 1/2, or like 3 to 4 4 1/2, something like that. They say not to bring this screw out more than one thread exposed, because there's only 5 threads that holds this bolt in. It's a 5-thread bolt. It's very tiny. And when you loosen the trigger weight on this, it doesn't mess with the sear because it sits on springs. So it's actually the spring tension that you're messing with and not the sear. So you won't run into the issue like the, what is it, the Accu triggers. So once you got it where you want it, it's just reassembly. Reassembly is pretty easy. There's probably 100 videos on it on YouTube. But it's just setting your stock back on, putting your bolts back down. They are the same exact bolts on both sides, so if you mix them up, it's really no big deal. But I'm pretty particular with that stuff, so I keep them organized. Put your bolt back together and then test your trigger poundage, which I'll be doing actually after I reassemble this, and we'll see where it's at. Obviously this weapon is clear. I have not used this thing in years. I'm surprised that it honestly still functions. I bought it forever ago when I had my Gen 4 Glock, but let's see where this thing is sitting now. So I was gonna record doing the poundage test, but this thing's super antique. I definitely need a new one. But I was running somewhere around 3 3/4, like between 3 1/2 and 4, which isn't terrible, but it isn't where I want to be. I want to be somewhere around 2. So eventually I will replace that trigger spring. Sorry about the bright lights. It's super bright in here right now, but I needed light to see to get everything back together, because I'm an old man, hard to see him and such not. But anyway, just remember that when you do, if you do decide to remove that blade, it is a safety feature. Also, if you do decide to drop the trigger weight on your rifle, that you anytime you do trigger work, you should do a safety functions test. I did a full safety function test on this one. It passed all the tests, so she's good now. That's one thing I do like a lot about the Ruger Americans, is the triggers don't really have any travel at all to them, and you can adjust the trigger weight without worrying about failing safety tests. Remington ran into that problem a lot with their AccuTriggers. I think they put them on the Access 2s, and I think they used them on the 700s for a little while. And you could adjust your trigger weight, but it messed with the sear, obviously. Most do. So if you dropped it too light, what would happen is you'd smack the buttstock and it would fire. Or you would put the safety on, bump the trigger, and it would fire because it'd break that sear. That's why Ruger went with the spring system. It's a lot better of an idea, and you still get a light pull. I don't even feel the difference, to be honest with you, between sear and the spring system. So, I mean, it still has a sear in it, obviously, but it runs off, the trigger system on this runs off springs. So, this has been Huntsman 32. I have some reviews coming up for you guys and such not. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you in the next video.